Kids live in a trailer with rusted pants. Mom's dog's bald, it's got no flair. Lost all its hair, and it don't care. Pink blankets, lies I've told again. Footprints vanish like phantom friends. I'm Superman, Daniel, faster than wind, stronger than a chopper with a rotor spin. I rake my driveway for Mom shakes her fist. Super Daniel, yeah, I can't be missed.
I like this one better, I think.
Not allowed on Mama's ATV. She says I drive it recklessly. X wrote her name on my mirror in red. Now I'm searching covers like I lost my head. Dirt roads, rivers, waist high deep. Virginia slims, I puff and leap. I'm Superman, Daniel, faster than wind, stronger than a chopper when the rotors spin. I rake my driveway for Mom shakes her fist. Super Daniel, yeah, I can't be missed. No load on Mama's ATV. She says I drive it recklessly. X wrote her name on my mirror in red. Now I'm searching covers like I lost my head. Dirt roads, rivers, waist high deep. Virginia slims, I puff and leap. I'm Superman, Daniel, arrogant and bold, strutting pop lines in the cold. Work one day a week at the sawmill grind. Super Daniel, yeah, I own my time. I'm Superman, Daniel, arrogant and bold, strutting pop lines in the cold. Work one day a week at the sawmill grind. Super Daniel, yeah, I own my time.
Even with me running through the woods over the head of the helicopters and head of the drones and stuff like that.
That's a good one.
Welcome in, everyone. I think I've welcomed everyone in chat, so good to see everyone here. First of all, an apology for cancelling my Kylie live stream yesterday. Ironically, I spent probably 6 or 7 hours the night before preparing for it. But I got halfway through eating my lunch and just had a massive migraine come in. So I basically just had to dive for cover. I will reschedule that live stream, having a chat with a few people behind the scenes. I think I'm going to reschedule it for the 21st, which is when they actually found Kylie and her vehicle. That gives me more time to catch up with a few more of the squirrels, and give them the opportunity to participate. Yeah, I missed Parker's thing yesterday as well. I was going to try and catch up on it after my live stream, but like I said, I was wiped out. I really hope that something is done to make, for something positive to come out of this, and that somehow something is done for Parker's family as well. Welcome in, Deborah. Good to see you. I've got that post-migraine kind of slightly ordinary feeling going on. Hopefully it's just the whole post-migraine thing and it's not going to lead to another migraine. I'm one of these people that I tend to, when I get a migraine, I tend to get like a string of them. So I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping that I don't get more. And that I'm hoping that just the way I'm feeling today is just that whole post-migraine crappy feeling. Yeah, so heartbreaking. It's one that I'm never going to be able to truly come to terms with, because there were so many failings. Migraines really do suck. And I mentioned this the other day, and this is all things I'm going to talk about in my next Aussie live stream. Welcome in, Dawn. The lack of support for families. Parker's family were trying to get a one-on-one support for Parker, and that didn't happen. I mentioned this last week. There's a family here in Australia, I think it was in South Australia, that basically the parents just made plans to end the whole family. And they made all the plans for afterwards as well, got everything in order, because they weren't getting support for them and their children who were high needs autism. I can't even say that one. Sumatriptan. Okay, I'll have to look at that. Because, sorry, just writing that down. Migraines are the worst. If you're not feeling well, you can push on, but if you've got a migraine, you just get taken out completely. Yeah, so this family in Australia that just basically they wiped out their whole family because they weren't getting support for them and their high needs autism children. And I was scrolling through TikTok last night and I came up on a page of a young woman who was just another Australian woman. I did look and see what state she was in, but I can't remember because there's a few things that are coming up like that. But another Australian woman, single parent with a high needs autistic child who isn't sleeping and she can't get support. And she was on TikTok in tears, looked like death warmed up because she's not getting support for her and her autistic child. And she's clearly not slept in God knows how long. Like, something's got to give. How did we suddenly as a society become so uncaring, and how did we reach a point where the most vulnerable in our society aren't being looked after? It just breaks my heart. Yeah, thank you, Ariel. I will try that stuff. I'll try anything. Oh, my buffering again. I've been having so much it's probably coming from my end. I've been having so much trouble with my internet lately, which normally doesn't. Oh, bummer. Yeah, I think the buffering is definitely got to be at my end again. I still can't use Google Chrome. I don't know what's going on with all this, but I'll have to try and figure something out. Greed has ruined the world. And I think too, there's so many. The thing I find sad is, I'll just put this up for people. For some reason, it doesn't start playing for you if you're here before the stream starts. Yeah, I get that with a few. I've had that happen to me on other people's live streams. So that's got to be a YouTube thing at that end. But I'm pretty certain the buffering is at my end. Well, here's the thing. It's not just about the lack of support for the most vulnerable people in our society, but it's also, welcome in, Fred. It's also this mindset that I see more and more often on social media of people just basically justifying not having to give a rat's ass about other people. The excuses for why I shouldn't care about this person, why I should just They're too much of a burden on me, so I should just put them out of my life rather than have the imposition of trying to be there for them, or there's so much on social media of people justifying turning their back on people who need support and normalizing it and coming up with ways of saying it so it sounds like some sort of psychobabble, so it's official, which is essentially people normalizing narcissism, normalizing exclusion, and making it sound like, well, I'm just looking out for my own needs because that's important and it's my right, and these people are selfish if they expect me not to. I think, damn, the buffering. I don't know why this is happening. I'm gonna have to see if I've got some updates that need to be done or something like that. Um, mm, yeah. Because I follow a lot of the kind of human rights. Yeah, okay. Because I follow a lot of the human rights kind of things on like social media. I see a lot of the really sad stuff. Another thing I saw was a woman up in Queensland who has a child with again high needs in terms of medical issues, and they won't put her in social housing, so she's living out of her car with a child who has all these immunity and health issues. And you've got so many people here who are in the same situation. People living below the poverty line because they've got disabilities. This is what breaks my heart. Parker's family were rejected only a few days before he went missing. In what world does a child like Parker get rejected for a one-on-one aid? It's pretty clear that he needed that. Welcome in, Princess Pillow. Good to see you here. I just think people need to start caring again. Governments need to start paying attention to where the money really needs to go. And community groups need to start fighting harder. Welcome in, Fred. You always do contribute when we always value your contribution. Sorry, my mates haven't kicked in yet. I had a bit of a sleep in this morning. I was like I said, that kind of after migraine feeling where you just wiped out for the next day or so. Now there's something that I need to sadly there's so many people who face that. And the irony is, so many of these people that are living below the poverty line do have additional medical health issues. And you hear so many of these people who are going without the medications or the treatments that they need because they can't afford it. And where does that get us? You might remember, if you're Australian, you do, we had an incident here in Australia about 18 months ago where a guy went into a shopping centre at Bondi Beach with a knife, and he killed a bunch of people before someone finally stopped him. Why? Because he had moved from a different state. He was homeless and he was unmedicated. And because he was unmedicated, he had a psychotic episode and he basically went and killed a bunch of people in a shopping centre. And this is where we're headed with our society. Oh yeah, it's always the way. Ours does this real political BS thing where community groups start making a fuss about things not being right, about, the cost of living going up or something like that. So what our governments do, like state and federal, is they go for the option that's going to get the most votes. So instead of supporting the people that need it the most, they do this across the board one-off payment for everybody. So just for example, with all this fuel crisis going on at the moment, because our government screwed up big time, and didn't have enough fuel reserves, so that when the orange lunatic decided to basically shut down the fuel reserves for the whole world, we found ourselves in a position where we were very quickly going to run out of fuel, and our fuel prices went up astronomically. What did our government do? They offered I don't know if this was just Victoria or if it was federal, they offered a 20% rebate for everybody on their registration, on their vehicle registration. Meaning that even the people who can afford, even the people that were stockpiling fuel, taking 1,000-gallon drums and filling them up with fuel, even they get this rebate, which equates to something like $80, which for a lot of people is like people that, use their vehicles every day. That probably covers a week's worth of additional fuel costs. Does nothing. But, that's how they do it. Welcome in, Bonza. Sorry, I did see you coming in. I was just in the middle of my rant. It's crazy, isn't it? Thankfully, here in Australia, we've got the PBS, which keeps all our medications down to a semi-affordable level. But even then, if you need, like for someone like myself with ADHD, I have to go to a specialist once a year and pay $800 for that specialist so I can get scripts for the rest of the year. And that's all they do. They just you do the appointment, they say, is this script still working right for you? You go, yeah. They do the approval thing for your GP for them to be able to do any additional scripts over the next 12 months. They do your script for that time. See you later. Thanks for the $800. Exactly. So, that's the other side of it. The people who actually don't have cars because they can't afford it, or because they maybe live in an inner city area like Melbourne, still have the additional $60, $70, $80 a fortnight on their groceries, if not more. And after this little Band-Aid thing with the rebate on registration, the other thing the government did was, let's just hold off our excise on fuel for a little while. What happened there was they put a hold on their excise. Fuel didn't go down the full amount of the excise. And now the time period for the excise is over, so that gets reapplied. Fuel goes up 20 cents a litre here, which puts it up above $2 a litre, meaning that, again, all our food and everything else goes up. Did I get your other messages, Dawn? No, I haven't. I have to apologise. I'm way behind with messages and emails and things like that. Especially after yesterday just being wiped out with my migraine. I just haven't caught up with anything. So I will attempt to do that after this live stream. I'll see how I go. But I know I'm way behind with responding to people's messages and things, so I do apologise profusely for that. Now, before we move on to... I've got to put this up because it is so true. It's reaching the point where just existing is becoming too expensive for a lot of people. How did we get here? It's wrong. Oh, I know. I'm bracing myself for the next rent hike. I'll keep waiting for that notification because it's about the right time. How ironic is it that bread and milk is now so expensive? I can remember when I was doing my first university degree, and I mean, I was working as well, but I was trying to save money. But for me, when I was at uni, I would go to the supermarket on my way to uni for the day, and I'd go to the bakery section and I'd buy myself like a bag of rolls, and it was those soft squishy ones with the flour on top, because I would just eat them plain, and I'd have a couple of them for lunch, and that'd be like 3 days lunch for me for a couple of bucks. Now these days you can't even just do the cheap bakery stuff to save money anymore, because bakery stuff is really expensive. Go to Baker's Delight and a 6-pack of Vegemite scrolls is like $10. Like, are you kidding me? It's insane. Okay, need to... Yep, exactly. And then we see the cases like Kylie Rodney's case, where justice doesn't happen because of money, and it goes straight back to billionaires. Anyway, I need to stop squirreling. There is something I need to address. Now, I did, when we first heard about Jordan's charges, I did discuss them. I can't remember if at the time I went through what they were or whether I just went through that behind the scenes. But I did discuss Jordan's charges. And then when he went back to court in July, I didn't worry about commenting on them because, in my opinion, even though Jordan is there on the periphery, at the end of the day, unless we can link him really solidly to Lily and Jack's disappearance, then I think people are paying far too much attention to Jordan. However, I am going to pay attention to him today, and I'm going to explain that in just a moment. Welcome in, Sky Painter. Good to see you. So, apparently, Vodka Man had another live stream last night, like sometime early hours in the morning for me. I didn't see it come up. When I went and looked later, it wasn't there. But then he has this dumbass thing that he does where he plays copyright music and then he has to pull his live stream down and remove the music before he can put it back up. But he had another live stream, and in that live stream there was a screenshot that he was, how he shares things on his computer because he doesn't know how to use streaming software or anything like that. There was a screenshot that he showed on his computer, and it was just like, it was text. So you couldn't see, there was no context of where it came from. But it said something about Chance Lays. And then it said something about Jordan. And it made the claim that Jordan's charges that he's up on in court are firearms and possession of CSAM materials. If you're not sure what CSAM materials are, I think Stephen Stearns. And if you probably don't know who Stephen Stearns is, we're talking images and things that a person shouldn't have. So this is the new claim that's being put out there. And I'm going to say straight up, it is being put out there by Vodka Man, claiming that Jordan is also up on charges for CSAM. Well, I hope that Vodka Man's got himself a good lawyer, because it seems like a few of these content creators have now got the obsession with making up shit about people. Welcome in, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. IA? Apparently Bonza, that's what Vodka Man has claimed. Now I can tell you now, it is not true. I'll need to run this right back to the beginning. And I need to remove comments from stage. Someone has created a fake portion of a document, apparently. A fake screenshot that is accusing Jordan of something that is not true. So while I was not going to go through Jordan's charges, while I was not going to continue to address Jordan's charges on my channel, given that you've got content creators like Vodka Man making up additional charges, making up the worst possible charges that you could accuse someone of, I'm going to go through and I'm going to basically show you what Jordan's charges are. Oops. He removed it because he got caught out. And here's the thing. Well, it's ironic that AB would be the one to suggest that he pull it down in case he gets sued, because the Vodka Man just seems to be following AB's example. Yeah. Whoops. Oh, yeah, he is. He's putting himself on incredibly dodgy grounds saying something like that. And here's the thing, even if he's pulled that live stream down, people will have screenshot that thing that he put up. People will talk about it. And it will become one of these rumours that gets ingrained in this case. Oh, yeah. Exactly. He does this a lot. There's that, there's several different images that he's shared of Lily and Jack that I've proven are AI images. I don't know if it's Scam Nita that gives it to him or if he does it himself. But it's still out there. God. Honestly, these content creators who are coming up with AI BS, there needs to be more consequences. So I apologise to Jordan that I'm going through his charges here publicly. That's the thing, don't we know it? You say a lie enough times and people will start believing it. And here's the thing that happens. I've seen this with so many cases. I've seen it with the Carly Rodney case. I've seen it with this case. Christ knows I've seen it with this case. We've seen it with Summer Wells. So many of these cases where things get said, they get passed on, and they pass it around to the point where someone's like, I heard that too. It must be true. And suddenly you've got all these people validating a lie because they heard it from someone different, because it's been circulating. He claims someone sent it to Scam Nita. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. I'm still trying to figure out whether it's him or her that is creating all this fake AI stuff. Yep, not only that, but not only do lies spread faster and have more staying power, but if you tell someone something negative and then you try to debunk that, they're less likely to believe you. They're more likely to believe the scandalous crap than they are to actually accept when you prove that it's wrong. Oh, yeah, once it's on the internet, it stays on the internet. So, they think they can delete it, but it's still out there. Oh, yeah. He can still be penalised. He can still face legal charges. Oh, is that why Chance's name is on there? Well, he's really, really overstepping things here. There's a few channels that have been making some serious allegations about people that could land them in really hot water and some serious legal shit. And they need to stop and actually quit with the AI bullshit, quit with the made-up stories, quit with the bullshit that is designed to discredit people when it is absolutely not factual at all. So, again, my apologies to Jordan. But I think it's preferable for me to go through his charges and to put to bed this whole claim that Vodka Man has made, rather than to ignore it and let this claim just continue to be out there. Because you can guarantee, even if he's pulled it down this time round, you can guarantee the way he's got it in for Jordan and Chance, that Scam Nita and him are going to keep bringing this up. So I'm going to jump in now and I'm going to discuss exactly what Jordan is charged with and what I've done, so people can actually see that there's no additional charges that I've missed. These go across 2 pages. So what I've done is I've put the listing before Jordan's and the listing after Jordan's, so you can see that there's no additional charges that I've missed. So on the screen in front of you here is the first page. You can see there's a name before his. And then if you go down, you can see there's 4 different charges. There is Criminal Code 86 Part 2, Criminal Code 91 Part 1, Criminal Code 92 Part 1, and the other one must be on the other page. Yeah, Bonza, sadly that is the truth, isn't it? Okay, so moving on to the second page, because that's where it's got the additional... Okay, again, you can see at the bottom, so this is the second page with Jordan's charges. You can see underneath there is another listing after that, so you can see where it ends, essentially. And then you've got the ones that I mentioned, as well as 88 Part 1. Again, it makes me angry that I have to focus on Jordan's charges. But I'm sick of the way people are targeting people who are on the periphery of this case and coming up with absolutely disgusting lies about them. And this is one that is very easily debunked. So I've just shown you that Jordan has charges that are from 4 different criminal code listings. So I'm going to go through each one of those for you and show them. Oh yeah, you've got a bunch of bullies who are proud of themselves. But it really just shows who the losers are. It reflects back on them. It shows what sort of teeny tiny pathetic people they are. I mean, what you would have to have really, really low self-esteem to do some of the stunts that these morons are doing. Okay, so let's have a look at the actual criminal code. Right, this is the 86 part 2 because I forgot to add it in full. This is the one, the contravention of storage regulation. In other words, you have committed an offence if you haven't stored things adequately. So every person commits an offence who contravenes a regulation made under paragraph 117H of the Firearms Act respecting the storage, handling, transportation, shipping, display, advertising and mail order sales of firearms and restricted weapons. So that is one of the charges that Jordan is facing. Then we go on to, they're out of order, I do apologise. 92, part 1. Every person commits an offence who possesses a prohibited firearm, a restricted firearm, or a non-restricted firearm, knowing that the person is not the holder of a licence under which the person may possess it, and in the case of a prohibited firearm or a restricted firearm, a registration certificate for it. So far we have him not storing his firearms properly and being in possession of something that was either prohibited or he didn't have a license for. Well, was prohibited and he didn't have a license for. Okay, next one. 88.1. Every person commits an offence who carries and possesses a weapon, an imitation of a weapon, a prohibited device, or any ammunition or prohibited ammunition for a purpose dangerous to the public peace or for the purpose of committing an offence. Now, I think these charges will probably be dropped because I'm not sure that they could actually prove that he had the intent of committing offences with these. So this one, probably a no-go anyway. No, he wouldn't have. He would not have been released if he had any CSAM stuff as well, I suspect. There's been all these other arrests lately of people who have been arrested and held. Okay, and then we move on to the last one. 91.1. Subject to subsection 4, every person commits an offence who possesses a prohibited firearm, a have I just played the same one again? Did I just go 91 twice instead of 92? Oh no. They're just very similar. Subject to subsection 4, every person commits an offence who possesses a prohibited firearm, a restricted firearm, or a non-restricted firearm without being the holder of a licence under which the person may possess it. In the case of a prohibited firearm or a restricted firearm, a registration certificate for it. They are the 4 charges, or the 4 types of charges that Jordan has. There's no other charges And yes, exactly. There's been so much stuff in the news lately. Had there been additional charges, it would have been in the news. But not only that, had there been those additional charges, we would have seen it on that court list. So I'm going to run it back for anyone who wishes to screenshot these for themselves and look up the criminal codes. There is the first page of it. This is a listing from 14th of July. I'm more than happy if anyone still wishes to go further to verify it. You're welcome to email me and I can email you a copy of the full court listing for that day if you want to double check. But I think this should be adequate for people. And here's the second page. This should be adequate for people to show there's no additional charges on Jordan. And we're talking some serious slander from Vodka Man and Anita. And again, I apologise to Jordan that I've focused on these charges. But at the same time, I think it's preferable as opposed to letting this rumour get out there. Basically, what it comes down to is not having a licence and not storing weapons adequately. There's a few restricted weapons in there as well. For the most part, those restricted weapons are things that belong to his grandfather. So they were things of sentimental value that were handed down. So on the scale of things, there's no evidence that Jordan was planning on using any of these to cause harm. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's nowhere near what Vodka Man is claiming. Yeah, so do I. I also, for anyone who wishes to question Chance's charges, I also have the court listings for that. I'm not going to go into that because I didn't realise that he was being accused as well. I just saw that his name was on the top of the screenshot. But for anyone who is uncertain, feel free to email me if you need proof that Chance also does not have any charges like that. Their court listings I can provide to anyone who needs proof. They do not have any of those sorts of charges against them. And it is absolutely disgusting that content creators have now decided that this is the new game. Let's make up some really, really heinous charges against people. And I mean, yeah, Jordan's not perfect. Chance isn't perfect. But what these morons have to realise, there are people who watch the content about this case because they live in the area and because they care about what happened to Lily and Jack. So there are people who may well know Jordan, who may well know Chance. And I'm wondering how Jordan and Chance are feeling right now, knowing that losers like Vodka Man are making these allegations that could well start circulating in their own community. Because it's bad enough when allegations are being made against, people with online accounts who people don't know where they live or anything like that. But when it is made directly at someone who is part of a community that is following that case, that's just the scum of the earth. That's the thing. I have a spammer. No, she's not a spammer. I think she's being facetious, possibly. That's the problem. There are some really, really unstable people watching this. And it only takes one person for it to become real life. I'm going to pull those off the screen now because, like I said, I wasn't going to focus on Chance and Jordan's criminal stuff. That's not important. That doesn't help us when it comes to Lily and Jack. But I felt that I needed to address that. I believe that Chance and Jordan are chatting with Charmaine behind the scenes, because I know that they both wanted to both approach me in terms of coming on my channel. And I basically said to them, look, Charmaine does a better job of that sort of thing than me. You would be better off talking with her. And I do believe that she has been talking to them behind the scenes. I suspect that they've realised that they are better off staying off the screen. Yeah, you'd think so. There are people who do follow them, though, and who don't think for themselves and who just believe the crap. And that's the thing. We've already heard, like, I haven't listened to Vodka Man and Scamnita for probably well over a month. But I know there was one time, and it wasn't the only time, but there was one time when she was really, really pushing for people to basically get out there and be vigilantes, and stirring for people to do things like go to Cindy's workplace. So it just takes one whack job. Well, yeah, it could have been a sock account bonza, well and truly. It could well have been. Okay, so I think, and I suspect that I may have offended a few people yesterday, but hey, what the heck? I think this is appropriate anyway. I think I'll play this before we move on to Daniel, just to lighten the mood a little bit. And while this doesn't necessarily apply directly to Chance and Jordan, it certainly applies to the sort of mindset that we're talking about. So again, apologies to people who may be offended by this, but this is just the reality.
He lives below the floor in his mama's basement den. Paper plates, cold pizza, and a game console again. Dad tried to help him once with the little job to learn, but now that's off the table and the wiring would burn. He's got that tiny glare like a bad idea in shoes. Every time a woman shines, he picks a fight to lose. He talks real big, but the cracks show through, so he points at you, cause he can't face his own view. Tiny brain, tiny pride, big bad mouth, small inside. Tiny brain, tiny pride, you can't hide what's wrecked inside. You can't hide. He throws his shade, then slips on his own lie. Tiny brain, tiny pride, and everybody sees why. If she's sharp, he gets loud. If she's strong, he gets mean. If she's got a little charm, he calls it acting mean. He needs a crowd to clap for the joke he never lands, but every shove he gives shows how little he stands. He's the biggest bully here in a room that's all too small, but the mirror by the stairs says, buddy, you ain't tall. He wants the throne made of borrowed noise, but he's just a kid with a pile of broken toys. Tiny brain, tiny pride, big bad mouth, small inside. Tiny brain, tiny pride, you can't hide what's wrecked inside. You can't hide. He throws his shade, then slips on his own lie. Tiny brain, tiny pride, and everybody sees why. Woo! No new daddy's fix, no basement crown, just empty brag and a constant frown. He swings at her, she stands her ground, and every time he screams, he gets smaller now. Tiny brain, tiny pride, big bad mouth, small inside. Tiny brain, tiny pride, you can't hide what's wrecked inside. Tiny brain, tiny pride, big bad mouth, small inside. Tiny brain, tiny pride, and everybody sees why. Basement king with the paper thin grin. Basement king, you were losing from within. Tiny brain, tiny brain, tiny brain, tiny brain, tiny pride.
I thought that was a good way to segue back into talking about Daniel, and this wasn't, I need to actually say this every time I do this, but no, that was not about Daniel. But I hope you enjoyed that one, Shan. There was inspiration there, certainly from stuff that's been going on. And I can see a few people did drop out, but you know what? If people can't see what's going on, and they get offended by me putting stuff out like this, it could also be about Stearns, couldn't it? That's for sure. A little bit closer to home though. Welcome in Laurie and Kim and Shenanigans and other people who've come in while Laurie, I didn't welcome you before. It could apply to a few people, but I think people know who it's about. There will be I have been working on the video for this. It's taking a bit of time, but it'll get there. I do like the idea of the Shania inspiration. Okay, so with that said, let's get back into talking about Daniel. Now that we've dealt with the rumours. And again, apologies to Jordan for talking about him on my live stream, but I thought it was preferable. And that, on that note, people need to start growing up. Okay, I've run it back just a little smidgen because I didn't really get anywhere with this yesterday. So let's go.
What I mean by under the covers is the blankets were up to their neck, right? And the reason why I said that as well is it did happen. I did flick on the light. It was after 12. They were both sleeping, and the blankets were up to their necks, but I didn't see what they were wearing.
Right.
And that's why I asked investigators. I said, "Can I see the CCTV, footage so I can see if the clothes are here at the house? Because all Jack and Lily's belongings were here at the house, and that would be the best teller of the description of what they would have on."
This is so pathetic from Daniel. I'm sorry. I'm in a snarky mood now. Romper room. Do miss Kim. I think it's pretty clear that, first of all, why can Daniel not remember what the kids were allegedly, well, what the kids were supposed to be wearing? Because according to what we've been told, they went to bed in the same clothes that they were wearing on Thursday. And according to what we've been told, Daniel was in town with Malaya and the children on Thursday. Meaning he was there when they were on the CCTV footage. So he should know what clothes they were wearing in the CCTV footage. But that's really not why he wants to see it. The reason he wants to see the CCTV footage is the same reason why he came out of the blue in the turkey show and mentioned that Lily got a black eye from a Tonka truck. Exactly. Like the day before they went missing. Pull the other one. I was watching something the other day, and it was a parent who had lost their child, and I can't remember if the child had gone missing or the child had died or something, but they were talking about the day before, and they were talking about how it is so indelibly etched in their brain. How is it possible for him not to remember what they were wearing the last time he saw them? It's not just the day before, but it's the last time he saw them. It's got nothing at all to do with the clothing. He wants to see if Lily's black eye is visible on that footage, and potentially if there are other injuries that are visible, in my opinion. Whatever it is that he wants to see that footage for, it's not because he wants to see what they are wearing. I would like to know, someone suggested this, and it is quite possible. Did they go in separate cars? Why did he go in after Malaya and the baby? Why did him and Lily and Jack go in after Malaya and the baby? And it was several minutes. Bonds has asked the same question. I think it was him who introduced it on the Drunk Turkey show, from what I remember. Welcome in, C-Mac. Yeah, I've put that up there for Parker. Normally I put it up there until the memorial or things like that, but I'm just not ready to take it down yet. I'm just going to leave it up there for now. Parker was failed so much. Yeah. Well, according to the documents as well, it says in the documents when it's talking about the footage, it says that Malaya went in with the baby and he went in about like 5 minutes afterwards or something like that. But honestly, the other side of it, even if let's take the black eye off the table for a moment. Oh, that's a good point. Went in to collect her, or to make sure that she wasn't spending too much money. Because I do believe that whatever happened probably began with an argument over finances coming back from going into town. Because when you're under financial stress, it's so easy for people to suddenly decide that you shouldn't have spent money on that, and then things just go south. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Maybe he did do something rough with one of the kids, and he's worried that that got caught on camera. Good point. Oh, I hadn't even considered that either. Because we know that when you look at the documents, there was, again, it looks like Malaya had attempted to call Cindy at some point while they were out. I need to compare that and see how that fits in with the footage. I won't do that today because I'd have to go through the documents and everything. That's a good point. That's a very good point. But the clothing thing. Now, he had to have been tweaking seriously over like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If he truly, honestly, oh, good work, Fred. I've heard that a lot of people have been doing that. Daniel's really good at putting two and two together, isn't he? He got paranoid. He's definitely got to have been tweaking. Oh, I'd love those screenshots. But he addressed it. Sorry, you're yawning. He addressed it on the Drunk Turkey show. He came out and said, yeah, you know, Lily got a black eye from a Tonka truck while she was at Paddy's. And I spoke about this in a live last week, where he's basically describing, Paddy was sitting there in her chair, and I was there too, whereas most of the accounts have him waiting in the car when they were at Paddy's. Dawn, I am not going to address I'm not going to feed the trolls, essentially. That's only going to basically make things continue. So it's just better to ignore that sort of crap. Oh yeah. Although I can't see that as being the reason for him to want to get hold of the camera footage now, because that's something that he wouldn't be so desperate for the footage if it was something like that. But in terms of the clothes, now, even if he couldn't remember what they were wearing on the Thursday, he would have been part of the conversation on the Friday in terms of, well, this is what they were wearing on Thursday. It's not here in the house, so they must be still wearing it. Because if Malaya knows what she put the children to bed in, and she's saying she put them to bed in the clothes that they were wearing the day before, and those clothes are absent, well, then that pretty much gives you a good idea of what the children were wearing. So him claiming he needs it to figure out what they were wearing, that's bullshit. Yeah, good point. He basically said Patty was a witness and trying to make out that she had dementia and stuff to basically discredit her in case she does come and speak out and say that that didn't happen. In case she speaks out and says, yeah, Daniel actually was never in the house that day.
Your investigators are not allowed to do that with me because they said, Daniel, that's the footage is considered evidence and you're a witness. You're a witness to the case. So we can't give a witness evidence. Right? Because I'm never.
Actually, I should just pre-warn you, listen carefully to the way he says this.
The best teller of the description of what they would have on. But your investigators are not allowed to do that with me because they said, Daniel, that's the footage is considered evidence and you're a witness. You're a witness to the case. So we can't give a witness evidence. Right? Because I'm never considered criminally involved or a suspect, technically a suspect because it's a missing persons case. It's not a criminal investigation. It's never.
He doesn't realize what he's done here. But this is verging on a confession. There's serious leakage here when you actually listen to what he's said. Now, first of all, he's got this BS thing of, you're a witness to the case. He's a witness to what? Because all he's claiming is that Lily poked her head in the door. A witness is someone who can prove a crime. Well, he clearly can't prove a crime because all he has apparently is Lily poking her head in the door. He can't even remember what they were wearing the day before. So, first of all, that's just, BS. And what he's meaning to say here is because you're a suspect. And, of course, that's in his mind because the very next thing that he goes on to is because I'm never considered criminally involved or a suspect. Technically a suspect. So, in his mind, even though he's saying they can't show him the evidence because he's a witness, in his mind, he's basically saying they're not showing me the evidence because I'm a suspect. So you've got that for starters. But then in trying to clear himself by saying he's not a suspect, he puts his foot in it big time. He says And you get the stuttering, which is always a dead giveaway with Daniel, which is basically, again, a sign that he's lying. So he stumbles over I'm before he says never considered criminally involved or a suspect. So he's struggling to spit out I'm and continue because it's a lie. He knows that he's considered a suspect. So that's the first sign there that, he knows he's a suspect. But the way he words this, he's saying that he's not considered criminally involved or a suspect because it's a missing persons case. It's not a criminal investigation. It hasn't pivoted. So he's not saying here that he's not a suspect, full stop, period. He's essentially saying they haven't named me up as a suspect yet because it hasn't pivoted from a missing persons case to a criminal investigation. He's basically saying, I'm not a suspect because at the moment it's only considered a missing persons case. So even though they're treating it as criminal, they can't call me a suspect. When you actually pay attention to what he's saying, he is admitting here that he's a suspect, but that at the moment they can't name it up because it's not publicly named as a criminal case. No, it's not the normal. It's not, because he's trying to convince people that, hey, I'm not a suspect. I'm not a suspect. I can't be a suspect because it's not a criminal case. But when you listen to the way he says it, he's basically saying, if it's a criminal case, then yes, I am a suspect. Yeah, you can tell because of the way his speech changes. I'll just run it back a little bit.
Allowed to do that with me because they said, Daniel, that's the footage is considered evidence and you're a witness. You're a witness to the case. So we can't give a witness evidence. Right? Because I'm never considered criminally involved or a suspect, technically a suspect, because it's a missing persons case. It's not a criminal investigation. It's never made that pivoting point.
No.
So, yeah, basically, he's saying, once it pivots, I'll be a suspect. He doesn't realise what he said. And welcome in, Brandy Indy. Good to see you in here. I noticed that time around when I was listening, after he said, because, I'm a witness and a witness, you can't give a witness evidence, you get this pause before he goes right, meaning he needs that confirmation from Sunny that she believes him. Oh, poor Daniel. He likes people to think that he's so confident. It's just insane.
It will make that pivoting point when there is evidence of a criminal action where they're going to lay charges.
Correct. Yeah.
No, Daniel, there is already evidence. They will pivot it to a criminal investigation if they haven't already done so when they are ready to make an arrest. This has been criminal since day one. They've been investigating it as a criminal case since day one. When you listen to everything that's been said, when you look at the way it's been approached, they've been investigating it as a criminal case from day one. They had major crimes on board on the Saturday. Now, when it comes to cases like this, yes, they may bring in major crimes for a missing children's case, initially just to be sure. But when major crimes become the lead investigative unit, that tells you the direction of the case. And they took the lead with this case very early on. He is trying so hard to convince everyone that he's innocent and he's not a suspect. That's a good question, Ariel. That's a really good question. Is this before or after the SA confinement charges? So true. He's going to keep trying to argue all this up until the day that he's arrested. Honestly.
It's a lot of the public isn't aware of the way investigations are conducted or how law enforcement policies and guidelines have to be strictly followed.
This is his new technique. I did a video the other day where I was and I spoke about it on the live as well, where Sonny called him out on the fake blanket, the second blanket that he invented, and he basically decided to gaslight me and then gaslight public and say, oh, people just don't understand how these things work, and he proved how dumb he was. So here we go again. I know, Brandy, he believes himself. He truly believes himself, which is what makes it even more hilarious. He says this all so confidently, and he's basically now going to gaslight the public. He's essentially trying to say here that all these people that think that he is a suspect, they're just stupid and they don't understand how these investigations work. The problem is he's dealing with content creators like myself, like Justin, like Sonny, who've been around the block a few times. We've covered plenty of cases. We know exactly how these things work. Oh dear. Detective Dr. Dragonite, Professor of Criminology. Yeah. Oh, Professor Dan knows it all. He could run the RCMP. He really could. Yeah, he's been checking things out on Google again. And he's putting his own interpretation on things, of course, as well. But the public they don't know how these investigations are conducted. They're just stupid. So if they believe that Daniel's a criminal, it's just because they just don't understand investigations. And, law enforcement policies and guidelines, they have to be strictly followed. I know. He does. He gaslights himself in his attempts to gaslight the public. And my favourite is when he's trying to throw crap on Malaya or someone, and he's so focused on that he then basically proves something that he's said previously is a lie. He's really not the sharpest tool in the shed. He thinks he is, but he's not so much. Oh, exactly. Honestly, major crimes must have been just rubbing their hands with these last two panel discussions that he did. They're probably just sitting there going, please, just keep talking. I mean, you can guarantee a lot of this stuff is going to be played in trial when charges are laid. He's just clueless.
I mean I've been through this, so I had to learn very quickly on everything from how interrogations work and like the formal interviews and what they can do, like law enforcement can do, the limitations that they have, and evidence collecting. I've got to learn all on that. And
he's been Googling again. My question is, was he Googling the right sites, or was he Googling American law? Oh dear. He thinks he's so intelligent, we're all stupid. Exactly. I think the lead up to the trial is going to be long as well, because I think we're going to see a situation where a defense team is going to be fighting really hard to get a lot of stuff made inadmissible because of how much Daniel has screwed things up for himself. He's basically been working for the prosecution since the first interview that he did. So he's made life very hard for a defense team, and they're going to spend a lot of time in pre-trial trying to get things thrown out, in my opinion. Yeah. It all comes down to burden of proof. If you're trying to get a warrant, there is a high burden of proof there. You have to prove that something is likely. I think it has to be likely 50% plus one, essentially. So it's got to be at least a 51% likelihood that the things you are claiming to support your request of the warrant are legit, are good reasons. Whereas when it comes to the Missing Persons Act, the only thing you've got to prove is that this records request you're putting in, or this access request that you're putting in, is somehow going to help in your efforts to locate the missing person. So there's not any burden of proof there. It's just you have to somehow link it to how it could help find the missing person. The only thing that it limits, of course, like I said, is getting access to, like, take a ground penetrating radar on private land, that sort of thing, because that would have to be done with a warrant under a criminal investigation. I would imagine that we're either going to see that, or we're going to see video interviews. Well, we won't see any of it because it'll be under wraps, you can guarantee, but they would definitely do that. But yeah, Mr. Google's been searching again, and he now knows how interrogations work and formal interviews and what their limitations are, and what evidence they can collect. I bet that's something that he read up quite a bit on. Any good defense lawyer would basically turn around and say, "Nah, you are not going on the stand." He would probably be like, I can do this. Yeah, it sounds to me like Canada is very much about protecting children. So I would imagine that the recordings would be played as opposed to making the children stand up in court in front of their own father as witnesses. He does. He really does. He's really clueless about just how these investigations work, and he's proving it by saying all this.
I've worked hand in hand with them, trying to do everything I can to find as much evidence as humanly possible to find Lily and Jack, and I've cooperated fully with that.
Well,
In every aspect.
I know I'm not an investigator, but I'm curious. Like, I like puzzles.
I'll pause there because then Sunny's going to talk about solving puzzles and stuff, and I left that in. I love how he's like, I worked hand in hand with them. You know, he's like this really good private investigator. So he's sharing his expertise with the Major Crimes Unit because he's just so good like that. So he's worked hand in hand with them. And he's done everything in his power to find as much evidence as humanly possible. You mean like there's this blanket in a bag that actually, when you look at all the accounts, it looks like you put it in the bag the night before trash night, and RCMP were the ones that discovered that it was in the bag, not you, Daniel. Oh my gosh. Mr. Google, like Mr. Squiggle. Oh my gosh. I can see that. I can visualize that. I totally can visualize it. For anyone who has never heard of Mr. Squiggle, this was a puppet that many generations, or a few generations of Australians grew up with. He basically had a pencil at the end of his nose, and he used to turn scribbles into drawings. I can just see it with Dan, the Mr. Google thing. I think the RCMP are just basically biding their time. He's helping them out. He while he is saying that he's helping them, he doesn't realise that that's actual truthful, but he's not helping them in the way that he wants us to believe. So I think they're quite happy to just sit and let him stay out there and continue to further incriminate himself while they work on building a tighter and tighter case. Clearly he hasn't figured that out yet, because he can't help himself. He keeps coming out. But, you know, finding as much evidence as possible. Do you mean like creating as much evidence as possible, Daniel? Did you put those boot prints out on the pipeline? Or the boot prints on the driveway? Or did you do other things that we're not aware of, that maybe you're not sure if the RCMP found them? Oh my God, Jane, use the blackboard. Oh my gosh. I can just see this Mr. Squiggle thing now. Totally. Sorry, I just made myself a note so I don't forget about that. He is. Him and Janie, they are the gift that keeps on giving. They just keep coming out and just giving even more. And you can guarantee that the RCMP, the Major Crimes Unit, are just like, oh my gosh, thank you, Daniel. You are helping us so much. It's, yeah, English 101 with Professor Daniel. Oh dear. He's got no idea, has he?
Sense. When I say puzzles, it's not because I'm sitting here going, "Oh joy, 2 kids are missing and I get to solve a puzzle." But
Yeah.
they're very intriguing because the truth lies somewhere.
Because it has an emotional aspect that you can familiarize yourself with, right? Because you have kids. You're in that world where you're trying to do something positive for families or the children.
People are
Daniel's learnt about emotions. He's learnt about the word empathy. So now he wants to try and make it sound that he understands what empathy is. So he's using this as an opportunity to try and make it sound like he understands what Sonny's talking about. We need a pie chart. Oh my gosh. We really do, don't we? It's just, it truly is nauseating, the stuff he comes out with. He does. He thinks the public believes all this. He is so confident in his ability to manipulate people that he thinks that he can come out with this crap and people are going to believe it.
talk about it, speculate, say whatever that they want, right? Because your guys' lives, no matter what, are in a whole different hemisphere than
But it's not just my life that's changed or Malaya's. They've
a lot of people's. But go ahead.
they've changed so many of my friends' lives as well. They've drugged them into this or dragged them into this, which they should have never been, dragged into an investigation or case like this. Like,
okay. While I have spent the first part of this live stream basically showing that the allegations against Jordan, the current allegations, are just BS. Welcome in, Summer Breeze. I do want to point out here that Jordan brought himself into this. Jordan came out and went on that show, and I can't think of his name right now, around the time that Durwood was out doing his tour of the internet, and Jordan came out in defense of his father. Had Jordan decided to stay silent, people would have never paid any attention to Jordan. Now, yes, it's become a distraction, but he brought himself into it. Same with, well, Chance and Adam, not so much, because they didn't bring themselves into it. They were named in the documents. And most people just ignored it. And then you got a few content creators who decided that they needed more content and decided to go after them. So Daniel sort of got a point, but at the same time, we need to acknowledge Jordan brought himself into it, and Chance didn't exactly help himself by coming out if it was him and making a bit of a crazy scene when Scamnita was attacking him. But let's listen to Daniel.
Jordan, for example. Jordan has nothing to do with anything. And it was just Darren that, you know, just being in the, you know, the proximity of Darren, because Jordan's his son and he's my friend. Jordan got dragged into this.
They all keep managing to throw Durwood under the bus as well without realising what they are doing. Because what he has literally said here is, oh, Jordan's not involved. He just got dragged into it because his father's involved. Yeah, Jordan has nothing to do with anything. It was just Darren. It was just, you know, from him being in the proximity of Darren, because Jordan's his son. So, you know, he got dragged into this because his dad's involved. So not only has Daniel successfully thrown himself under the bus here and admitted guilt, but he's basically just saying here that, yeah, Durwood's involved as well. The question is, how involved is Durwood? But he has just admitted here that Durwood's involved. Oh, thank you, Summer Breeze. Always appreciate people's support.
You know, my friend Chance got dragged into this. All Chance ever tried to do was help find Lily and Jack. People don't understand that. People attack Chance for no reason. He did more than all Malaya's family put together. Chance walked through the woods with me. Adam came through the woods with me. Like, they tried to help. That's why I went there and I recruited them to try to help find Lily and Jack. They have big hearts. They've met Lily and Jack.
A few things there. First of all, he's saying, you know, people are attacking Chance for no reason, and, you know, people are focusing on Chance and Adam because they came and helped me search. So again, he's like, well, there's no reason for people to look at them. What he doesn't realise is that he himself put Chance and Adam in the spotlight. Because the big question here is, did he contact his friends and say, would you want to come and chill with me somewhere and do some rugs so it looks like we're out searching because there's no point in searching? Or did he call them and lie to them and tell them that Lily and Jack were missing and use them as an additional alibi? Look, see, I really am innocent because I've got friends to come and help. But either way, he put his friends in the spotlight. Whether it's by using them as his alibi or using them for whatever it was that he was doing all day on that Saturday. Again, he put them in the spotlight. They're in this position because well, that's the thing, yeah. He recruited them. Like, that is a very interesting choice of words. He recruited them to come and help find Lily and Jack, apparently. So again, the question is, did he recruit them? as an alibi, telling them that Lily and Jack were missing and he didn't tell them what was going on? Or did he recruit them to help him with the cover-up? Because these are friends who've been his friends for a very, very long time. Yep, you picked up on it too, Bonza. Both. Now, I think Jordan might have said that he met the kids once or something. Chance has said he never met the kids or Malaya. Are you sure? I thought in the documents it said that they were there on the Saturday. I thought that it said that he picked them up on the Saturday, they helped him search, and they were like there searching with him for the day on the Saturday. One said Friday, one said Saturday. Oh, I need to go back and look at that. I hadn't really paid a huge amount of attention. Oh, no, Jordan said that too, did he? It's hard to keep up. The stories keep changing. But I'm pretty certain that Chance also said he's never met Malaya and the children. In DMs, he said Friday. Oh, right. Yeah, no, I thought I was trying to figure out what the into the was. They were all. Why were they all on the pipeline? And why was it that Janie apparently had to go and pick up Daniel from a separate track where he was away from, and take him back to his friends, like he was away from Chance and Adam at that particular time? Like, what were they all up to? Yeah, that's what I think. I do think, because we know that at the end of the day, we know Chance has a past in terms of selling rugs and using rugs. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if things were stashed away in the woods. And that's why Chance and Adam were brought in. They were either moving or removing stuff. But like I said, they have thousands and thousands of images from drones and helicopters. Over the first 3 days, they had 2 or 3 helicopters in. I'm not sure if they had them simultaneously, but there were 3 helicopters. There were at least 6 drones up in the first 3 days. And they have thousands of images from the drones and the helicopters. They have thousands of hours of footage from the drones and the helicopters. And I feel pretty confident that with that footage, they would have tracked movement of Daniel and Janie, and probably Justin, quite possibly Ron, in those first couple of days. And if Daniel has brought his friends in on it, then they will have also tracked what they were doing. Yeah, stolen car parts as well. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, they've never said what they were doing on the pipeline. I mean, we know they weren't searching, because we know that they knew not to search. Yeah, I know. Like, Jordan and Chance don't know anyone, even though they're really, really close to Daniel. It's like it is all smoke and mirrors, 100%. Yeah, definitely strategizing, and the pipeline. Yeah, they've used it for their cover up, essentially.
Add him many more times. They know Malaya. They know Lily and Jack on a personal level because they've been in front of them.
Why are they not saying that same story, Daniel? They know Malaya, they know Lily and Jack on a personal level because they've been in front of them. That actually causes me concern. They've been in front of them. What sort of language is that? He's not saying because they've been, Lily and Jack have been to their places, or they've been here when Lily and Jack have been here. It's a very passive thing. They've been in front of them. Is this why they've hit these guys with some serious charges, because they believe that they saw Lily and Jack after they were deceased? That part of what they were doing on that Saturday was moving Lily and Jack. Because that wording disturbs me. It disturbs me a lot. He's recruited these guys. And now he's saying they've been in front of Lily and Jack. It's really, really odd wording, and it's a little bit alarming. Yeah. They've met, or they've been here for, family gatherings or something like that, but not saying that Lily and Jack have been in front of them. That's my question, Grover. I'm gonna go right back to where he talks about recruiting them, because honestly, this just doesn't sound right at all. Yeah, or they've been around them, not in front of them, not.
Sitting there going, oh joy, 2 kids are missing and I get to solve a puzzle.
Yeah.
But they're very intriguing because the truth lies somewhere.
Because it has an emotional aspect that you can familiarize yourself with, right? Because you have kids. You're in that world where you're trying to do something positive for families or the children.
People are going to talk about it, speculate, say whatever that they want, right? Because your guys' lives, no matter what, are in a whole different hemisphere than.
But it's not just my life that's changed, or Malaya's. A
lot of people's, but go ahead.
They've changed so many of my friends' lives as well. drug them into this or drag them into this, which they should have never been, dragged into an investigation or case like this. Like, take Jordan, for example. Jordan has nothing to do with anything. And it was just Darren that, is just being in the, the proximity of Darren, because Jordan's his son and he's my friend. Jordan got dragged into this. My friend Chance got dragged into this. All Chance ever tried to do was help find Lily and Jack. People don't understand that. People attack Chance for no reason. He did more than all Malaya's family put together. Chance walked through the woods with me. Adam came through the woods with me.
I just have to pause it there as well, because I missed the part where he said Chance did more than Malaya's family. Well, we know that many of Malaya's family were out searching on the Friday and the Saturday, whereas from what we hear, Chance was only there on the Saturday. So in what way did Chance do more than Malaya's family? Because he's not talking about searching here, in my opinion.
Like, they tried to help. That's why I went there and I recruited them to try to help find Lily and Jack. They have big hearts. They've met Lily and Jack. Adam many more times. They know Malaya. They know Lily and Jack on a personal level because they've been in front of them.
Yeah, I still can't normalize that. They know Lily and Jack on a personal level because they've been in front of them. This is one of those Daniel statements that makes me feel like this tightness in my chest when I hear it. It doesn't sit with me well at all. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking. His friends did more. How? That's really sick and twisted. Where's that? There's a lot of leakage like that. And he keeps coming out and using the word dragged into this. Which stands out to me because even though I still haven't found the audio, I swear that we heard Janie at one stage say that she had to practically drag, or that she had to drag Jack through the woods. Just the way this is all worded just doesn't sit with me at all.
And to accuse these people, I mean, not you, Sonny, but I mean, some of these channels that attack them, that's disgusting. So I'm gonna run and pee again because I drank a whole bunch of coffee. I drank a whole bunch of coffee. So
yeah,
but I'll be right back to answer
You're
some
actually
more
peeing
questions.
more than me, and I got diabetes.
Yeah, I drank a lot of coffee. I'll be back in a minute.
So just want to make note of the fact that after talking about what essentially sounds to me talking about the cover-up, after talking about what sounds to me like dealing with evidence, possibly moving Lily and Jack, suddenly Daniel needs to go and have a bit of a go on the pipe. None of the wording in that fits together properly for me. None of it is normal speech. Chance walked through the woods with me. Adam came through the woods with me. They tried to help. They tried to help with what? Yeah. Good to see you in here, Shirkers. He's definitely, that's what he's up to now. Got to go hit the pipe now because that was a little bit stressful talking about the cover-up. I thought he had moved them alone too, or I had wondered if Durwood had been involved with that. But the way he's talking about them being in front of Lily and Jack, it makes me question things. Oh, welcome in, Camilla. Maybe one of these days I'll actually be able to see you in here. Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. See, this is why I would dearly love to see Chris McDonough get back onto this case. Because he has this amazing... He's not a professional statement analyst. He's a detective. But he picks up on so much. He's still one of the best analysts that I've come across, regardless of whether or not that's his main forte. And I think that him and probably Dr. Gary and anyone else from Cold Case Foundation who took another look at this, their minds would just be blown. And I would love to know what the RCMP statement analysts are thinking of these statements. Because there's just one thing after the next with these people. Yeah. Although it depends, because you do get that sort of in regional areas where if you are a local, locals tend to stick together and they have each other's backs. But it certainly makes you question. I mean, they could be just completely uninvolved. It could have been that he did drag them in as an alibi to make it look like he was the concerned stepfather who got his friends to come and help. But when you get wording like that, it just alarms me. Oh, yes, certainly. Golden opportunity for speech analysis. Yep. I'd really love to know what they were doing on that Saturday. But I think we can be confident, given the number of drones that were out and the helicopters, we can be extremely confident that the RCMP at least know what they were doing on that Saturday, where they went. Now, obviously, if they were under cover of trees, they might not have seen exactly what they were doing. But I would imagine that the RCMP have at least been able to track their movements based on their drone footage and their helicopter footage. I'm going to push on a little bit more. So Daniel's gone to have a hit of the pipe. Oh, I think we could take bets on that. Actually, Daniel claims that he took his phone out on the Saturday. So again, it makes me think if maybe Saturday was creating the alibi. Nothing else to necessarily hide. Yeah, and that's the other reason why we need to push on, because we need to hear the difference when he comes back. So yeah, it could be that he just brought them in for the alibi, but that statement about being in front of Lily and Jack just concerns me.
You're back, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. Good pee? Legit? Good pee?
Yeah. And mom yelled to me,
Well,
and she said Bradley's in the chat saying something.
yeah.
I don't
ahead.
look at the chat. I want to touch on Bradley for a minute.
Yeah, let's, because actually he just asked me if I was going to bring him up, and I was like, yeah. And then I'll go back to what I was going to say.
I have to say, the mummy side of Sunny came out just then, didn't it? The good pee. You only hear that from someone who's a parent. Yep. He said that. I think that was in Charmaine's? He basically said Malaya wouldn't be able to carry them. He forgot that when he was being asked about if he thought Malaya could have been involved, the question was directed at this whole narrative that had been put out about Malaya having people remove the children. But he went straight back to what he was thinking about in terms of what happened to Lily and Jack. So he slipped up and basically said, oh, she wouldn't have had the strength to move them. It's like, good one, Daniel. Nice admission there. Yeah, what is with that? He filmed half-hour footage from Malaya. That's definitely significant. That's one of his favourite things now, isn't it? We'll touch on that. He's got all these little things that he uses now. Okay, so I just want to remind people ahead of what Daniel says, how hard Daniel and Janie went at Brad when the documents were first released back in August. Daniel and Janie were going out of their way to discredit Brad when the documents were released. In fact, even before then, when Janie was doing all that chatter on Facebook, she was being very careful to make sure that she discredited Brad ahead of time, because they knew that Brad had made the report. Yeah, that's exactly what he's done. We know that as part of the CPS stuff, that he had to do anger management, Narcotics Anonymous. There was a list of about 4 things that came out that he had to do as part of his CPS agreement. And it's basically just been an opportunity for him to learn the talk. Yeah, Chris would be an awesome on this case. I would love if him and Josh would take another look. So, yeah, I just wanted to remind people about Janie and Daniel running Brad down big time. So let's hear what Daniel now has to say about Brad.
So
I'll say this. I never had a problem with Bradley. I don't know him. I never talked to him before. I have nothing against Bradley. I know he doesn't like my family and everything, but I never had a problem with Bradley. He as I said, like, people can do whatever they want, right? If he wants to do whatever he wants to do, that's fine with me.
Okay. Yep. When Brad told them about the car, they told Daniel straight away. So him and Janie went on the defense immediately. Okay, little bit of a break while I take Mouse outside. What are we missing? Oh, we haven't had this one today.
Well, I met Professor Dan down at the county store. He said, I've got a brain map and a whole lot more. He had a 5-I word and a shining new grin. Straight from the online thesaurus, he was cashing them in. He said, vivid means cheap and opaque means clear. I said, Dan, that ain't right. He said, I learned it this year. He talked so slick, you'd swear he knew the town, till you listen real close and the meaning fell down. He could tell you all about a polygraph test, every wire, every needle, every puff in the chest, what the sweat on your palm means, what the blink of your eye, how the little machine knows if you're telling a lie. He described it in detail, every minuscule part, but the facts went missing like a hole in his heart. He was accurate sounding, but that's where it ends. A mile of good spelling in a yard of no sense. And he leaned right in like he had the cure for every old problem a person endures. Psychobabble, he'd murmur, I know how it goes. Then he'd trip on the jargon from his head to his toes. Professor Dan, oh Professor Dan, he reads one page and he thinks he can. Professor Dan, oh Professor Dan, all that noise no understand. Oh, Professor Dan. Professor Dan. He's an expert on hounds and the scent in the air, on police line chalk and a flashlight glare, on search and rescue where the mud runs deep, on the way a lost soul breaks and the secret won't keep. He'll talk addiction, trauma, ADHD, like every psychiatrist calls him up for free. Doc, what's your advice? He'll say with a grin, then he'll answer himself before the truth gets in. Professor Dan, oh Professor Dan, he reads one page and he thinks he can. Professor Dan, oh Professor Dan, all that noise no understand. Oh, Professor Dan. Oh, Professor Dan. Well, he's got every answer in a digital pile, but the more he explains it, the less it feels like he's got confidence, sure, and a dazzling pose. But he's mixing up wisdom with the words he chose. Now he's 10 feet taller in the key of G, still wrong as a fence post, plain as can be. He's a master of nothing, but he sure loves the sound of his own big opinions circling around. So if you need a lesson in what not to do, call Professor Dan and he'll prove it to you. He's full of big talk and a borrowed brain. Every word sounds smart, but it lands in the drain.
I think that one might actually be my favourite one now. I've just got to figure out a way to condense it down enough to actually save it into my media assets so I don't have to load it up every time I go live. I just realised the chihuahuas are still outside, so Taka's come and taken over their beds. Okay, so we'll continue listening to what Daniel's got to say about Brad, I think, and then I'll finish after that. But he's basically, he's claiming he's got no problem with Brad after him and Janie went out of their way to discredit him, to do their best to discredit him. But what he's doing, and the reason I paused it at that spot, which was convenient because then Mouse decided he had to go out, so it kind of worked. The reason I paused it at that spot is that he's started by saying, I've got no problem with Brad. I don't know him. I've got nothing against him. And now he's twisting it around. He's starting with the people can do whatever they want, right? If he wants to do whatever he wants to do, that's fine with me. He's not going to outright bring up Bradley's past. He's just going to hint at it to make sure that people are reminded of that so that he can basically discredit Brad without actually being seen to be the asshole. Welcome in, Teresa. Good to see you here. Okay, so here's where we pivot to I've got no problem with Brad, but now I'm going to badmouth him. Oh, whoops. No, we're not. Sorry. They did. That was one of the first things they came out with as soon as the documents came out in August and people knew exactly who Brad was. They started talking about Brad was stealing from them. Janie claimed that the reason her four-wheeler was at Earl's place was because they didn't want it stolen. Charlotte just said the same as me. Yeah, they said the ATV wasn't on the property because of him. So, you know, Daniel's got a short memory. Or he thinks we've got a short memory. Well, he can't think we've got a short memory because now he's going to remind people of all the crap that we were told about Brad back in August. Oh my gosh, that's a year ago. Holy crap.
Do Sonny, you can do whatever you want to do.
Exactly.
It's not, as long as you're not hurting others, that's completely respectable, right? I never had a problem with Bradley.
So, okay. So
I never openly bashed Bradley and said, "Oh, Bradley's a terrible person." Bradley, we all make mistakes in our lives, right? Like I've done drugs before. I'm ashamed of that. But like that,
honestly ashamed of
the things you do don't. The things you do don't. You can learn from the mistakes you made, and you become a better person. Like that's what I've done over the last year is grow as a person.
I thought I'd play all that through. Yeah, Brad does have a past from a very long time ago, which is the reason why he was so reluctant in terms of his dealings with the RCMP. But the fact that even with his past, he was still prepared to come out and basically speak up on behalf of the children says a lot. He does. That pee break that he had certainly helped him out a bit by the sounds of it. Yeah, because I should actually read everything you're saying before I jump in. Yeah, they were saying Brad was a thief long before the documents came out. The only difference is that once the documents came out and Brad was named, they're like, hey, you know, remember this guy we told you about? That's him. So Mouse is barking at the neighbour. He goes through periods. There's something that the neighbour does that really annoys the crap out of him, apparently. And right now that's happening. So, sorry, I'm going to just quickly throw up another one while I get him in. I hate it when I lose the flow like this, but it's going to make me, I'm going to be too distracted by Mouse otherwise.
Build a fence so tall, the cars are parked and watching me, they all speed away when I step out the door. They take my pics and videos galore. Drones are buzzing high
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much, Dawn, for the super sticker. Very much appreciated. Yeah, he definitely went out and did drugs just then, I swear. Yep, so true. Familiarize yourself with emotions. It would come from a psychologist in trying to identify and not react to what someone is feeling. In other words, he has no emotional intellect. That is exactly the case. If you actually ask someone who feels emotions, you don't have to try and familiarize yourself with them because you've lived with them your whole life. Yeah, they began from really early trying to discredit the neighbours because that they knew what was happening in the background. Okay, again, my StreamYard's playing up. Yeah, Janie was planting those seeds long before we actually knew Brad's name, that's for sure. Exactly. What are they going to steal from that property? So some of those old pallets that were being turned into fences, because that's valuable. If I look at the front of that property, I can't see anything worth stealing. Dear. Oh, thank you, Summer. I somehow missed that. Very much appreciate. Okay, so let's finish with Brad. Now Mouse has done his barking, he's settled in. Gives me enough time to finish this before I wrap it up. Yeah. Possibly. Although Daniel apparently hides his stuff under the sink in the bathroom, so Brad would have to have been able to get in there.
And I hope everyone can actually, identify that and see it. And
I just run that back just a smidgen.
There's
But,
nothing
like,
to be
that-
honestly ashamed of.
the things you do don't. The
But
things you do don't. You can learn from the mistakes you made, and you become a better person. Like, that's what I've done over the last year is grow as a person. And I hope everyone can actually, identify that and see it.
So he's gone from, under the sink at children's height, spot on. It certainly raises questions, doesn't it? He's gone from trying to throw shade on Brad because I suspect that he might be a little bit scared of Brad now. Because I think Brad will come back at him now if he tries to go too hard at Brad. So I think he's gotten a bit scared. So he makes the suggestion about Brad here in terms of, Brad's done bad stuff, but, let's now turn around and focus on me, but make sure you remember that Brad has a criminal record. That's what he's trying to say. Just having a look. Yeah, taking it to Earls isn't going to be any better. It's still well and truly within distance. Yeah, I just believe that the ATV wasn't on the property when the RCMP arrived because it was being used. They had where is it? I'm trying to find. Someone made the point of basically they were so worried about the red ATV, but the kids ones were still on the property. And when you look at the location where the kids' ones were, I wouldn't be surprised. There's plenty of room there for another ATV. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where that ATV was parked as well. Yeah, that's what he does. He takes what people have asked him before and adds it to his narrative. So from being asked about his own personal growth on Charmaine's, it's now part of his narrative. So he's like, well, you know, we all make mistakes in life, and we learn from our mistakes, and you know, that's what I've done over the past year. I've grown as a person. And you know, I hope everyone can see that. Daniel, what we can see is not that you've grown as a person, is that you have continued to adapt. He is the classic chameleon. From that very first interview, he paid attention to what people were saying. So when people pointed out that the fake crying looked really fake, he stopped doing the fake crying. When people pointed out that he was masking in those early interviews and you couldn't see any sort of physical things going on that you could actually analyze in terms of his body language, suddenly you get the helicopter arms. But then when people pointed out that the helicopter arms were ridiculous and unnatural, they get put by the wayside. And then every time someone has questioned something with his narrative, he's altered it the next time he came out. Now, yes, you can learn from your mistakes and become a better person, and it makes you grow as a person. In his mind, that's him basically saying, let's just forget about it now. He's like, well, I believe I've grown from it, so I don't need to be punished. Yeah, some mistakes do follow you for the rest of your life, and that is, you know, one of those things. Yep, we got Mr. Squiggle again. Exactly, you've nailed it. Because this is not what Daniel has done. Personal growth is about looking at your truth, looking at your past and growing from that, acknowledging it as what it is, as opposed to trying to tell people that you don't know what happened to Lily and Jack. Well, yes, true. What Daniel has been charged with should follow him for the rest of his life. When it comes to those sorts of crimes, those sort of things do not, you don't change behaviours when it comes to that. It's proven. People who've been arrested for those sort of crimes, when they get released, usually you get repetition. Exactly. Personal growth comes from learning from your mistakes, not passing the buck. Oh dear. Yep. Daniel's very own self-help book. Oh dear. It would be in the comedy section of the library. Yep, he will be, if convicted, he'll be on that list for at least 10 years. He's guaranteed jail time. So, you know, he's trying to make it sound like he's learnt from all his mistakes and everything, but he's still covering for himself. He's still covering his ass. He's still not speaking out about what happened to Lily and Jack.
But the actions you make in life, they don't determine the outcome of your life. I mean, not unless they're extreme. You know, they're not mistakes at that point. If you did something extremely, you know, bad to others and harm them, right, to the point where it destroys someone else's life. Like, I've never done that.
Can you believe he said that? He's unreal. You know, the actions you make in life, they don't determine the outcome of your life. Not unless they're extremely, you know, they're not mistakes at that point. He can't even get out full sentences there. He can't spit out the full sentences because he knows that what he did was more than just a mistake that you move on from. So when he says if you did something extremely bad, he's got to throw in extremely, you know, bad to others and harm them, right? To the point where it destroys someone else's life. But like, a lot of likes in here. Like, I've never done that. Again, throwing in the like, because that's one of his many tells. I'm willing to bet that if he was on camera, that after he finished saying, I've never done that, that we would have got the lizard lips as well. Because Daniel's actions have destroyed people's lives. I'm not even going to pretend anymore that we don't think that Daniel is the reason Lily and Jack aren't around. I think we're past that. I think it's fair to say that whatever happened to Lily and Jack was almost certainly at Daniel's hands. But even still, if it is or isn't, there were 3 people on that property when Lily and Jack went missing. Lily and Jack didn't wander off into the woods. Lily and Jack weren't abducted. So, trying to deflect from that, that's basically what he's trying to do. I've never done that, he says. He believes he's never done that. Anyway, on that note, that's a really good spot for me to wind this up. You probably heard the front door, meaning that it is a good time for me to wind this up, especially because the dogs are now getting excited. So, yeah, I will carry it on from there. Anne or Anna, Annie, Anne, whoever you are, we've had a statement from Michelle Glasgow, who is like the leader of the Micmac that has been accused of being responsible for taking Lily and Jack, and she has pointed out how preposterous that accusation is. And she has named it up as racism, essentially. So it's not a direction that I think we should be going down, because it is something that is definitely not truthful. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks for coming in, guys. If you haven't already done so, please hit the like button. Also, if you are new, please subscribe. If you're on replay, if you're listening on replay, please do leave comments below. Very much appreciated. Even if you are just listening now, please feel free to come and leave as many comments as you like in the description underneath after we've finished. So on that note, thank you, and I'll catch you in the next one.